Vantage is the storied British marque's volume car. And with the unveiling today of an all-new model, that volume just got turned up. The new car starts where V12 Vantage, not V8, left off, says Miles Nurnberger, Aston's head of exterior design, as he walks us around the production car in an intimate advanced viewing at the brand's rural UK headquarters. He is referring to the top of the line, and the run, 12-cylinder, stick-shifted, spoiler-bedecked analog anachronism that was a limited edition send-off for the outgoing car, which had been on sale for more than a dozen model years. To say that the previous Vantage was long in the tooth is a reckless overestimation of the lifespan of teeth. From a purely visual perspective, we cannot argue with him. The new Vantage is immediately recognizable as an Aston Martin, with the signature hill climb grille, central fleet crisp hood, mesomorphic flanks, squinting greenhouse and tucked tail. But the car can almost be heard, seething, with one's eyes. First off, the hue the brand has selected as a launch color, lime essence, looks like ionized absinthe. Additionally, the car is rimmed along its ground-hugging nether regions, from chin to ear, in a bead-wronged sinew of starkly contrasting polished carbon fiber aero effects. It smears menacingly through narrowly horizontal, Slovakian eyes. It flashes the triangular carbon bergamot on each cheek, armor potent enough to ward off Napoleonic cuirassiers. And its rear is a war of stark blade-like protrusions, like the final battle sequence in a Chopsaki movie. Speaking of wail, we have not yet had a chance to hear the motor expectorate, but we have a pretty good idea of what it might sound like, given that it's the same one that was recently implanted in the Decibels 11. The 503 HP, 513 pounds-horse variant of the ubiquitous and beloved 4.0 twin-turbo V8 that is built by AMG and scattered fervently throughout the Mercedes-Benz range. Here, as in the Decibels, it is specially mapped and tuned for a more thrilling and less bombastic engine note. It will be paired to the similarly ubiquitous and beloved 8-speed ZF automatic, which is currently distributed among all of Europe's automakers. Benz's familiar Nurnberger under a flip phone COMAND controller is also present to manipulate the big center screen. Dimpled thimbles in the steering wheel spokes control mainly redundant screens that display much of the same info in the instrument panel. Redundant buttons are also dotted around the periphery of the center tunnel like the dashed Rand McNally border between Ohio and Kentucky. If you own the car long enough, we're fairly certain you'll figure out where they all are, and what they all do. Negative space carved out of the doors and a lower seating position help taller drivers fit, although the rather stingy allotment of greenhouse makes the cabin feel slightly more like a coffin than a cocoon. We identify more with vampires than larvae, so we felt right at home. While the new Vantage shares a bonded and riveted aluminum platform with its Decibels 11 stablemate, 70% of the structure is new for this car, and the only common body parts are the front and rear badges and door handles. The car is nearly a foot shorter and, at just more than 3,300 pounds, more than 800 pounds lighter than its big brother. It has ideal 50/50 front/rear weight balance and uses no active aerodynamic aids, just its sharp sculpting, and ground and undercarriage effects, to keep itself planted. Just how ideal and how planted, we volunteer to find out for you when we are given an opportunity to get behind the wheel in advance of the first US deliveries in June. When that happens, Aston tells us to expect 0 to 60 times to be around 3.6 seconds, top speed to be around 195 miles per hour and the price to be less than $150,000. One thing we cannot expect, at least right away, is for the Vantage to arrive on our shores with the Decibels 11-esque Stentorian V12 packed into its nose cone. Though the executives at Aston could not resist speculating on this possibility, dare we say, eventuality, as we looked under the roomy hood, together. The bay here is dominated by a giant pair of cubic hair boxes, and then, well behind the front axle, a motor.